Steven Spielberg presents Gremlins.
Billy, what are these things? Where do they come from?
Look, I know it sounds crazy, I know. But in a few hours, you're gonna have a major disaster on your hands.
Gremlins, directed by Joe Dante. They'll be expecting you on June 8th.
I find that there are only two types of movies during Christmas time. It's where your wholesome kind of bullshit, or you get like your Black Christmas, where it's like a complete horror schlock kind of slasher film. But I feel one film, and I think in the entirety of history, besides, I don't know, people would argue Krampus would go alongside this kind of, like this tone. Gremlins 1984 is probably the best merging of just horror, fun, and just a good Christmas time to, like, you can watch this movie with your family. That's what my father showed me this movie when I was younger. This is one of those movies that, like, a lot of parents show their kids, because it's like a perfect blending of horror and just complete, you know, good feeling vibes, even though some of it is almost in a dark tone. Like, I'll get into it, but it's really just wholesome, even though it's a complete, like, Looney Tunes kind of movie, which goes with the director's vibe in general. The director Joe Dante, who had made he started his career off with, like, horror movies that you would expect, like The Howling and Piranha, which are just, like, you know, complete kind of schlocky kind of movies. But he has such a unique tone to he loves just cartoon vibe. It's really fun. One of my favorite things he's ever done is also Steven Spielberg, like, something has to do with Steven Spielberg, is the Twilight Zone movie, which has a segment by Joe Dante where it's like if a kid can conjure up Looney Tunes, like, creatures in real life. And it's just really creative. It's really fucking scary. It's really creepy. This kid who just wants to have a perfect family that he can control with. It's just, like, the weirdest shit. Cartoon rabbits. He can, like, send his, like, sister down a fucking cartoon hallway that, like, eats her at the end of it. It's really scary. And that's, like, 1 year before Gremlins, and Gremlins is just a really fucking classy movie. It has Steven Spielberg's name on it. I couldn't find the DVD fucking anywhere, so I had to settle with the novelization from 1980 that my dad had. I don't fucking know. It's just, I couldn't find the DVD anywhere, but it's fucking amazing. It's one of the most just funnest times you can have for Christmas. Like, before I could have any say in a movie time, I would, like, any movie I could watch, now I would choose, like, a Black Christmas, like I did my past review, but this time I just wanted to really go back to my roots, and, like, what my dad would used to show me as a kid, because Gremlins is just one of those movies that, like, anybody can enjoy, if you're not, like, a total pansy. It's barely violent. It has elements of spooky kind ofness, but it's mostly a comedy. A really silly fucking comedy that's like a total creature feature, just going all out for Christmas. Steven Spielberg kind of reins it in. Like, he reins Joe Dante in, where I think the original idea was to make it more, like, darkly toned. I think there's a couple scenes that were, like, omitted, like the mother getting killed by the gremlins and the dog getting eaten, Barney getting eaten by fucking gremlins, but that shit's not in the movie. They decided to, like, make it just to rein it in a bit, just to make it. It's kind of like what Steven Spielberg did with Michael Bay in the Transformers movies, where he said tone it the fuck down. Don't totally just make it your own kind of. He made it just like so it can be successful in the box office, and it wasn't just like a total misfire. Even though I have total faith in Joe Dante at this era. He was on his shit. He knew what he wanted. He loves his weird Looney Tunes cartoon kind of scary vibe. This movie just has such an interesting tone. I find it just it's like one of the funniest movies. Like, once it gets into, like, all the Gremlins, like, shenanigans, it's so funny. It becomes like a total just a like a fucking cartoon. It becomes like a mad house of hilarity. considering this was like 1 year after the Twilight Zone movie, where I'm pretty sure Steven Spielberg met like Joe Dante and like kind of had bonded with him and to really savor the idea that this script that Chris Columbus wrote, who wrote like the Home Alone movies and a bunch of shit like that, where he kind of just like gave it to Joe Dante because he believed in him and saw what he could do with like such a. I mean, that Twilight Zone segment is fucking crazy. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Also, mini rant, fuck Steven Spielberg's fucking segment in the Twilight Zone movie. It's the worst thing. It's so up his own like schmaltz, like to make it happy. It's like, come on, bro. This is a Twilight Zone movie. You're really gonna do the kick the can segment? That's like the worst. That's the worst thing to put in the Twilight Zone movie, where this is like supposed to be like the big like, I don't know, show off case of what the Twilight Zone should be. I don't know. It's just that segment annoys the hell out of me. But anyway, with Chris Columbus as the writer who wrote and like directed fucking Home Alone and all that, you can really tell that like Joe Dante added his own fucking flair of craziness. It's really fun while still being like kind of like just creepy, even though the Gremlins are hilarious. Like the movie opens up with like this whole mystic, like the Chinatown kind of scene where the father of Billy, he like goes into like this scary Chinese store who like sells mystic items, and he has like just a fucking creepy creature that that is like a native creature for wherever they're from, and like the son, I think he's the son of the owner of the store. He sells the Mogwai to the Billy's dad because they need the money and because their store is gonna close down. And it's really just, there's a lot of just, it's mystic vibe with it, with the lore of the Mogwai and the Gremlins. Like the kid gives him the rules what not to do, like don't get them wet, don't feed them after midnight, and don't put them in the sun or whatever. It's really, it's like, it's almost your generic like Christmas movie, but just the element of the Mogwai turning into like a fucking nightmare creature makes it like a total B movie. It becomes total schlock. It paves the way for the movies that just like rip the Gremlins off, like the idea off with like Critters. Even though I think Critters was like in the making at the same time as this, like your little creature feature, or like you got like little fuckers running around. And this movie does it perfectly. It's not cheap with the Steven Spielberg like production. Like he puts all of his money in it. He like really goes all out. There's a lot of creature effects done by Chris Walas, who did like the effects for like The Fly and like Naked Lunch, kind of like Cronenberg movies like that. So they got a real professional just to like work on this fucking movie, and all the creature effects are fucking amazing. There's a few that are a little dated, but they still have their own charm and like soul to them. This movie is really admirable for what they did, even though they had the backing of Steven Spielberg to, you know, just push it to have its own like really. I think the budget for this movie was like $11 million, so that's pretty expensive for the 80s. But you know, they really used that money to its extent, like. The amount of like animatronics and just puppets, all the sets. I think the movie was filmed on the fucking Universal lot. I'm pretty sure that town is not a real town that like Billy lives in. It's totally like a backlot, but it's still just all the fake snow. It's really great. Like this film was totally probably filmed in California. All that snow is not real. Even it like sets you in the coziness of Christmas though. It does, like even like all like the stores and like shit, like the city is fake. You can still get the vibe that like this is a town that is, you know, real. You can feel that it's like it has a living, breathing presence to it. This is one of the only like B movies to really just make it into like the mainstream. Like it has like the, I don't know, Steven Spielberg in his early kind of like Indiana Jones days kind of had like the B movie feel. Like Indiana Jones is like a total like it's a serial movie. It's total like schlock. But This kind of, it's like, it takes from like 80s B movies, like that's where Joe Dante comes from. Like Piranha and The Howling are total B movies, and to see this be like so well done and like so well produced, it's like the most expensive B movie of the 80s. It's crazy, and it's like it's backed by like one of the biggest directors at the time, I mean ever, Steven Spielberg, and it's really. It has like it has that like B movie sensibility where it's like it's there to like it's almost there to make you laugh at it, like at the movie itself. Like just a ton of scenes in this movie with just I don't know. There's a lot of just like the whole like what the hell's her name? Fucking oh my god, fucking Mrs. Deagle or Miss Deagle. Her fucking just like her entrance of the movie, like her music. It's like silly.
Good morning, Mrs. Deagle.
What's good about it?
Oh.
It's almost like it's almost like your typical Christmas movie, but by the end of it, she gets fucking flown out the window in her old woman chair up the stairs. It's just it's one of the silliest things in the world. Yeah, this movie is really just fucking silly. It's really just one of the funniest movies I've had the pleasure of ever seeing as a kid. It's just there's a lot of soul in it. Like a lot of the cast is good, and they have a lot of good screen presence. Like Billy, played by Zach Galligan. He's got a good presence. I like his look. He's got like a jacket the entire movie. He's getting fucking torn down by just owning these gremlins and like basically fucking the world or the town up at least with these monsters. Like he's given these rules. He basically gives in because like the Mogwai is cute. Like he feeds it and gets it. Like I mean another B movie actor. I mean he's not B, but he's like an 80s actor. Corey Feldman as a little child shows up in this, and he like gets the gremlin, like, the Mogwai wet, and then it multiplies and begin like this epic effect of just fucking the bubbling of his skin, and then like it just like shoots out these tiny clones of him who are they're more evil, they're more fucking just hectic and like crazy. It's just like for funsies. It's not really explained. I guess the idea is that like it's just like consequences of getting like the rules and like fucking them up, you know, just like not listening to it. It's really silly. Like one of my favorite like just things of this movie is just like the whole Christmas setup at the beginning, and like the fact that it turns like a total like 180 from just being like a fucking normal Christmas movie, and then it becomes total schlock by the end of it. It's like a total like creature feature nightmare, and it's all set around Christmas, and it really adds like this good element to it where it has its own soul. Like considering this is written by Chris Columbus, who did Home Alone, he probably has a fucking weird fetish for Christmas. And the fact that they gave the script to Joe Dante, is really admirable because like Joe Dante has such a unique voice in cinema. Like he loves cartoons. Like he directed like a Looney Tunes Back in Action with Brendan Fraser. Like he is just like so in tune with cartoons. He loves to like just make the weirdest movies that have Looney Tunes sound effects and vibes. Like the whole like. I think one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie is like when the Mogwai and like when Gizmo, they name him Gizmo. Like one of my favorite scenes in the movie is just like him playing his like a little arcade machine, and like the other Mogwai are like fucking jumping up and down in the fucking box.
Pretty neat, huh? Hey, what is with you guys? How about shutting up for a change, okay? I already fed you.
And like they spit at Gizmo. It's like the best scene. It's before they become total monsters and like demons when they become gremlins. So we get introduced to the town at the beginning of the movie. We get introduced to the character Billy, who's like our lead, and his dog Barney, who's a classic dog character, one of the best, even though he's barely in it. He's in a good amount. He's like, I don't know, he's one of my favorite like dog characters of all time. He just has a good presence. And then when he gets like wrapped up in the Christmas lights, it's hilarious. It's one of the best parts of the entire movie. And it's just, we get introduced that his car's fucking up. It's kind of like, I don't know, there's like the idea of a gremlin being like a thing that like fucks up like technology and like cars and like anything mechanical. Anything that fucks up a thing is called a gremlin, I guess, which is kind of introduced a little bit later with the Futterman character played by Dick Miller, who's a classic, just like schlock auteur, who's like in a million B movies. He's a pretty famous face. He's in a lot of just like, I don't know, Chopping Mall, and like fucking Evil Tunes, movies like that, like total schlock movies that I'm sure Joe Dante like loves and grew up on and takes inspiration from, because he was kind of in that scene with Piranha. That's like one of the trashiest B movies ever. And we get introduced that he works in a bank, and he just, you know, he's just trying to get by, and then like he has his dog, like he like sits under his desk, and it's like, why are you bringing your dog to work? I mean, I guess I don't even know, like his parent, I don't know, his mom doesn't seem like she works or something. Just keep him at home. But anyway, Mrs. Deagle comes in with her theme music, and then she's like the Scrooge, like she's a total asshole to everybody during Christmas time. I'm sure in general, just in general, and she talks to like this family, and just like says something like horrendous to them, where he's like, I hate you kids, and then like she goes into the bank, and she tries to she just goes in there to be a bitch to Billy, and like even the dog can like sense that she's a total bitch. Like she like threatens the dog to put him in the dryer on high heat, you know, classic line. And then the dog fucking jumps her ass because fuck her, or she's a total nightmare of a woman. And then she plays all victim, and like they scold Billy for being like, why do you bring your dog to work? And he's just like, I'm just trying to live, bro. And they go into a bar, and they introduce that like Billy is a cartoonist. He draws Mrs. Deagle as a fucking like nightmare dragon, which is kind of played into a little bit more into the sequel, where they try to like just take everything they can from the first movie to make some content in the second one, which is a total farce of a movie. If you ever seen it, it's like a total, I don't know, it's like a bastardization of this movie almost. Where the second one is like, it totally doesn't give a fuck. It's just like a total. This movie is a little bit more like on the serious side, whereas that movie is like a total Looney Tunes, Joe Dante venture. I really doubt Steven Spielberg said anything like, don't do this. He probably just like totally went all out with like Joe Dante. He just did everything he wanted to do in that movie, with just Batman, Gremlin, and just all the Gremlin effects in that movie are great. And to see just this movie be so serious in some scenes, like you have just a ton of like scenes where like it's taken seriously, like the Phoebe Cates character, Kate, I think her name is, like she's dressed like an Amish woman at the bank, and like there's like the infamous scene of this movie is the whole like Phoebe Cates going on a rant about why she hates Christmas, because her father died in a chimney trying to surprise her. It's like, you're insane. Like, why would you even try to go down a chimney, like, for real? And, like, she goes on this whole rant of, like, oh, we found him rotting in the chimney for a week or something, and then we started to smell his corpse. It's just, like, that kind of tone is totally from Joe Dante, where he comes from horror. This is, like, a little bit of a horror movie, but it still has, like, a silly sensibility of just, like, total cartoon wackiness with the Gremlins and stuff. But, you know, once the Gremlins do show up, the movie does take a turn of just being a total comedy. It's like almost like once like Stripe it jumps into the pool. It becomes like a total like cartoon showcase, like almost montage scene of like just horrible things happening to people. Like the whole like the gremlin in the mailbox pushing out the mail and like grabbing the guy's hand and like chewing on it and stuff. The gremlins fucking with the fucking the traffic lights, like just like making everybody crash into each other. It's the gremlins are so fucking funny. This is like it's just they're almost lovable in that kind of like they're just like lovable assholes basically because they're so funny. they're like imitating people. They're like they can talk kind of. It's really funny. It's the sensibility of this movie is just to make you laugh and to like just have you just have a good time with it. It's supposed to be fucking funny. With this being a Christmas movie, a lot of characters have their own like weird little quirks, like with Phoebe Cates and her whole ass weird Christmas backstory of her dad dying, and then you got the dad character who's really great, who's like he's an inventor whose inventions never work. They're almost like hacky inventions almost, but it's kind of the idea that that the Gremlins is a thing that like fucks up mechanical things and like electronics. So it's like the whole Gremlins name, just to put it in your script, like all of his inventions never work. It's a little just quirk that just makes this movie kind of feel more like there's more to it than just the Gremlins themselves. And so yeah, just like the weird invention that he gives like the gas station guy, like the smokeless thing, whatever the fuck that is, and it just makes him cough. It's really funny. And the whole orange juice thing that's fucking up all the time, the eggs, the shaving cream, never need a shaver, whatever the fuck. All of his little inventions are just a little good quirk to this movie that add a lot. Once Billy's father reveals that like he got a Mogwai to Billy for Christmas, he got him his own new pet. This weird Chinese pet that has really weird, bizarre, almost mystical rules he's just gonna give to his son. They really, in this movie, they really get down that like they really make the creature alive. Like the Mogwai, like Gizmo feels alive. He doesn't feel like just like a puppet, like an animatronic puppet. He feels like a real pet. Where I don't know, there's a lot of the way the actors interact with him, they really treat him like he's like there, like he's not just like a toy. I don't know. There's a lot of like when Billy brings Corey Feldman Gizmo, and like the way he like messes with him and like blinks at him, tries to get him to blink and stuff. It's like you can really get the vibe that like they are treating this as like a real animal. And then once Corey Feldman fucks up and gets him wet, and we get the knockoff Gizmos, they're like the mischievous assholes who are just like the spawns of Gizmo, and Billy's like a pretty, he's a pretty reasonable character. The first thing he does is bring the fucking like the multiplied creatures to fucking the smartest person he knows, which is like the scientist guy at his school, or his I think he like his past school or something like that, and he really just he does what like any normal person would do. He's a pretty good protagonist. He's not a pushover. He really like makes it his own. Like he's a real good character, and he brings him to like the scientist guy, the science teacher, and he leaves one of them there for experimentation and blood tests and all that. And they go back home, and the best, I think I mentioned it, but the best scene of what the Gizmo clones jumping up and down on the box, like the noises they're making, they're being rowdy, they're being like they want to eat basically. So he looks at the clock and he sees that like it's not before midnight, which is one of the rules. It's not before midnight, so he gives the chicken to the fucking the Mogwai spin-offs, and like I think that scene ends with him like watching Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of thing. and like it's kind of creepy and ominous. He's like, "You're next, you're next," like that kind of shit. And then like I think the next day they wake up and like they see that like all the Gizmo clones that ate became fucking just this cocoon egg, like almost like an alien egg, like the xenomorph poster. And like they the science teacher also didn't realize that like his own Mogwai ate his sandwich or something, and he's saying like yum yum, and he takes like the bag of chips or whatever the fuck and he eats it. And yeah, so he's like in the cage, and he's like the egg is trying to like expand out of it. It's a really good effect. I love all the Chris Walas effects in this movie. They're really good. I've heard that like the original Mogwai look was really different. They were more they were almost like one shade like brown kind of look. But what Steven Spielberg said to Chris Walas and Joe Dante, I want the Gizmos to look like my dog. And so they made him like I think his dog was like a Jack Russell Terrier or some shit like that. So Gizmo does have like the fur, like the white and kind of brown fur, which was a good call from Steven Spielberg's part, because it almost makes the entire creature it really feels alive. Whereas like I think the original design is more, it almost feels more B movie. Whereas this movie it feels way more classy and just less B movie. It makes the creature feel really alive. So Billy tries to figure out what's going on after all the other Gizmos clones turn into eggs. He goes to the science teacher's place to figure out what the hell's happening. And then while this happens, the best scene in the entire movie basically was where Billy's mother versus Gremlins. That's like, it's classic. Everybody loves that scene. It's got like some of the, it's such a tense scene with the like the whole like, can you hear what I hear? And like she's walking through the whole house, and like she hears Gremlins critting around. She sees that the eggs have hatched and stuff. And then they get into like the best effect shot of the fucking gremlin eating the gingerbread cookies. All the effect shots in that scene are great. Like it's like a puppet, but it's like reversed to have like this really weird like effect on it, where it makes it less look like a puppet. It makes it look more unnaturally, like more natural rather than it just looking like a stilted puppet. And so she has this standoff with Gremlins where she fucking stabs the gremlin who's eating gingerbread cookies, and like one is throwing plates at her, and like she sticks that one in I almost want to say she sticks him like in a garbage disposal, and then like she sticks another one in a fucking microwave. It might be the same one, but it's like a total epic gooey showdown. It's like they have like green blood. This movie could almost give kids nightmares, but it's a really good gateway horror movie where it's still funny. Like there's a lot of funny, like it hasn't even gone to like the crazy like total like 180 of it being like a Looney Tunes movie, but it's still tense. Like the whole Stripe hiding in the Christmas tree, attacking Billy's mother. It's like really creepy, the red eyes and stuff. And then they finally Billy runs in, and he fucking gets like the sword from their house, and he like slashes a gremlin's head off and stuff. It's really action packed, even though it's like a Christmas movie. Like it's like the greatest creature feature ever. It's really just really admirable, like how what they did in 1984. It's really like all the Gremlins look amazing. Like the one shot that people dig on is the one like after Stripe falls into the pool and like multiplies himself forever. The one long shot, it's pretty funny. Like the long shot of like the city, it's like a miniature, and then like all of the stop motion Gremlins. It was to show how many Gremlins there really are now. Like there's like a 200, 300 Gremlins running around. Like people will ape on that shot because it's not the best looking one, but it still has its own charm with it being just stop motion. Like you don't really see that too much these days. So it's nice to see at least like every trick in the book being used in this movie. Animatronics, puppets, maybe there's like the there's just so much effort put into this, and it's really great. Like they had the money from Steven Spielberg's like fucking winnings in film, and they used it to its full extent. They had his name on it. They made a fucking big profit with this movie. This movie made like $200 million, which is fucking amazing. It really stapled itself as a Christmas classic. Like one of those weirdo movies that people love to watch on Christmas, like a Black Christmas. And this one is like another one who's like just as good. It's fucking amazing. And just, it's really funny. That's like the best part of this movie. Once the whole scene after, you know, the whole showdown with Billy and like the science, like at the science lab, which is a really good scene with like the whole creepy, ominous feeling of the science teacher showing like this heart beating stuff to make your heart beat kind of like intense because you know what's coming. You know, like the scary gremlin is in that room. And it's like, it's a really good tense scene of like Billy like going into the science lab and seeing his teacher dead with like a needle in his butt, I think, and like he has like his own encounter with the gremlins. I think this is before like the whole he arrives at his mother's attack scene, and so there's a lot of I think in The Howling too, there's a lot of shots of like just the lighting of like the windows. I don't really know. I'll show it here, but like the lighting is so amazing. Like they really put like the gremlin in hiding at first. They don't really just show it off. There's a lot of just ominous lights. It's not as like Christmas light heavy in this movie, whereas like in the Black Christmas I talked about, it's like complete up its own ass in Christmas lights. This one takes it more. It takes inspiration from like The Howling and stuff, which is what Joe Dante made. So he's really he's sticking to his guns in this movie. So he after they confront Spike at the YMCA and he multiplies, they get into this montage scene of just the gremlins fucking everything up, and it really shows how much of a fucking funny farce it becomes, this movie. So Billy like a sane person, he goes to the cops and he tries to get them to help, but they don't believe him. He shows him Gizmo, who's like the cutest motherfucker ever, and then like they go down to this like to the town to see what's going on. They go to like Mrs. Deagle's house, and like that whole scene with Mrs. Deagle's hilarious. Like the fucking gremlins Christmas caroling to her and just like antagonizing her, and she's like, "Oh my God, they've come for me! Oh my God!" And then like she flies out the fucking window with her malfunctioning gremlin chair. Like the gremlin idea, I guess, comes back, which the Futterman guy brings up. Which his scene's funny too. Like his whole like, I was right. These gremlins do exist. There's a gremlin in my cab. Like that kind of shit. Like, and the gremlins knock his house with a fucking cat, like a bulldozer. It's just silly as fuck. They destroy this entire house, which must have been a fucking blast to film, just to like wreck an entire building. So yeah, it implies that like the Futtermans are killed, but they come in the second movie, which just shows like the second movie is a total joke. Like it's totally just like a total farce from this movie. Like I said, this movie takes it seriously, whereas the second movie is completely just fucking out there. Like it's like the total, like the two kinds of B movies where like you have your B movie, which is like just a B movie because it feels just it's kind of cheap, even though it's not. This is a huge budget for its time, but it has the B movie sensibility, whereas the second Gremlins movie is a total just like when a B movie doesn't take it seriously whatsoever. It's like a total like Toxic Avenger almost, like trauma movies. It kind of feels more in that vein, the second movie. Whereas this one, it's like it's still trying to be like a Piranha, like The Howling. It's more serious than it is more of like a fucking total farce. So yeah, once Mrs. Deagle flies out the fucking house again, the cops, one of them played by fucking Finger, Mike from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. He's one of the cops in the car, and then like they try to drive away because they see Santa, one of the Santa dress uppers, fucking covered in gremlins, and they're like attacking him, and like they're all laughing, being fucking hilarious. And they like drive off, and the gremlins hit the cops' brakes, so they fucking just like do this epic action swerve out of there, and they die. I guess they die. I don't know. You never see them again. And so I think after this, Billy meets up with Phoebe Cates again, and they kind of team up, and they have like their whole scene with my father died on Christmas. He dressed up as Santa and all that. Which is just the weirdest scene ever. They do like a parody of it in the second movie, and it just totally takes the piss out of this scene. And this movie adds like, that scene just adds like the weirdest element to this movie, where it totally pinpoints the idea that this is like a little bit of a black comedy. Because the whole movie is a fucking cartoon. Once like the Gremlins show up, like the whole scene of them in the bar, that's like the best scene too. Like they're doing like flash dance parodies. They're like shooting each other. They're like Stripes being a total pimp with this like gremlin dressed up as a girl. The little puppet hands, and like that kind of shit. It's just ridiculous. It's like total nonsense. But it's like these creatures are so like they're more advanced than Gizmo, like a Mogwai is. It's really bizarre. Like I guess Gizmo kind of talks. It's a little bit more like, I don't know. It's just really funny. So Phoebe Cates and what's his face, Zach Galligan try to figure out where all the gremlins went, because it's like the streets are empty. And then they go to the theater, and they realize that the gremlins are watching Snow White, classic Disney film, and they're loving it. Like this movie's fucking quotable as hell. And they're all just having, like, that's one of the greatest shots ever. Just like all the hundreds of gremlins in that entire theater doing their own thing, and like hanging from the walls and just like eating popcorn and like all that shit. It's so great. And since Stripe is a fucking epic badass, he's getting snacks for everybody in the city, in the store across from them. And then while he does that, Phoebe Cates and Zach Galligan, they make a plan to burn up this entire theater to kill them all, because these bastards need to die. And they almost do the Inglourious Bastards thing where they burn down the theater with whatever they can find. I think it might be film prints that they burn too. But yeah, once they figure out that like it's people trying to kill them, they all run towards them. And there's like this epic shot of gremlins running down like the hallway and corridor while they try to get out of the theater. And then like, the door with the gremlin arms getting outside the door, and then the whole theater blows up and stuff. It's ridiculous. Total B movie. And like Stripes just like holy shit or something silly like that. And then like they see him. I think they see him in the store, and this whole ending battle of just like a good ending, like, because like he's like the big bad of this. He's like smarter than them, kind of. He's like, I don't know what the idea is. He has a stripe, so that makes him better, kind of. He has a distinct look to him, so that's why he's the big bad. And so the last scene of them in the toy store, they have a lot of like Spielberg references, like the E.T. toy. Stop jerking yourself off, Spielberg. And he's like, I think Stripe is hiding with E.T. or something, and like there's this whole him riding a skateboard, which is like its own animatronic, which is like another layer of like just how much effort they put into this movie. They have like this whole setup animatronic so he can like ride a skateboard, and they just like made it for like that one like 10-second shot. It's like really admirable. Like you fucking did something with the money that Steven Spielberg and like everybody else produced for this movie. They really used it to its extent. And so once the whole showdown of Stripe fucking attacking Billy with like a chainsaw, which is great. Gremlins with the chainsaw. It's fucking awesome. He literally beats the shit out of Billy. He like throws like buzzsaw, like a saw at him, like a frisbee and stuff like that. He like rips his shirt and stuff. He literally fucks up Billy, and then like fucking Gizmo to the rescue in his like little Barbie car. That's great. All the like I love the ending of this movie. Like just the whole Mogwai or Gizmo and like Stripe versus scene is really great. Just him driving his Gizmo car, fucking really being a hero. Like this little creature being like a little hero. It's great. He's driving it, and then like I think once they go into like the green room with the it's like plants, and there's like a fountain in there. It's kind of like a Home Depot toy store. I don't know what the hell this section of the store is. It's really great. Like it's one of the like Gizmo. So Stripe is trying to like wet himself again, lol, but he's trying to multiply himself. In the midst of this, they're all watching him do it, and then like fucking Gizmo comes in his Barbie car, and he fucking rams up, and he hits the lights, and like the sun's out, and like they fucking hits Stripe, and he fucking melts into this amazing effect of him just becoming a goop bones mess. It's one of the best effects ever, and it's like he runs up the car and he hits the lights. It's fucking sun out, and it's just like Stripe, as he's trying to multiply himself, fucking gets blinded by the sun, and then like it's one of the best effects ever, just like ever in this entire movie, and in general, just like the whole him becoming a goop melted skeleton mess. It's like it's so amazing. It's like how the fuck did they do that? I'm sure it's like probably like the same thing with like being reversed or something, but it's like it's really good. It might be like made out of clay and they heat it up or something like that. It's really just amazing. Like that whole his you can see his skeleton, his little like head and like arms coming up and stuff. It's really fucking gross. It's a really good way to end this fucking really cartoonish fucking movie. It's really great. It ends with the cartoon just nonsense, but then it kind of brings it back together with the whole, because you really get the sense that like Billy cared for Gizmo. Like he treated him as a pet. He loved him, kind of thing. Like as you love a dog. Like he really became attached to this little creature. He really cared for him. He like healed him up when he hit his head and stuff. And he like was just a good friend to Billy for this little amount of time. It's almost like hokey, but it feels appropriate for a Christmas movie, right? So the Chinese guy from the Chinatown store comes back and he's like, "You are not ready," and like he's like, "Maybe one day," and then like he like takes him in the little epic box that they made for him. And Gizmo says, "Bye, Billy," and it's really heartfelt, and the music swells. And then it kind of ends like with a little like narration of the dad is like, "They can be anywhere," or some bullshit. And the movie ends. It's like it's a simple movie. It's like there's not much to go into it, but it's really just a real good creature feature. There's a lot to this movie to love. It's it's really just fucking admirable that this movie managed to like be such a cultural phenomenon. It's like it's almost trashy, but it's so heartfelt. It's hilarious. It's mostly known for the comedy. It's ridiculous. Like once like the Gremlins show up, and like their whole just shenanigans of mayhem, they're really funny. Like this little fucking movie book here, it's a fucking classic. Like if you've never seen it, fucking go watch it. It's like it's a simple, fun time. It's just it's just one of those movies that like is a cartoon basically come to life, which is what Joe Dante like is really good at. He makes just Looney Tunes movies, and it's really, especially the second movie. The second movie is like a total, just like everything that happens in that movie is ridiculous. There's more Gremlins. There's more things with the Gremlins. A spider Gremlin, like that's amazing. Like there's so much effort put into these two movies, and it's really admirable. And with the whole Steven Spielberg presents, kind of like the whole like Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, where it's not really directed by him, but you can kind of tell that he has like his finger in it. It's really great. I love Gremlins. It's one of the first movies that I've probably ever seen in my life. Probably. Like, it's always sticks with me my entire life. It's one of those movies I recommend anytime during Christmas to anybody. Whereas, like, Black Christmas, you have to, like, it's a specific audience you're, like, asking to watch that movie. Whereas this, anybody can watch it. So, I just wanted to go into a little review of this. It's just for the Christmas time. Fuck it, who cares? I wanted to just show that I love Joe Dante. His movies are fucking great. Like Small Soldiers kind of has like the essence of this movie. And yeah, one of the best creature features ever. And considering this is a Christmas movie, it's just like one of those movies that is just like perfect. And considering it doesn't just work well as a Christmas movie, it just works as good as a movie in general. Kind of like Die Hard, where it's not totally about. I mean, this has more of a Christmas element than Die Hard, but this is, it doesn't totally need it to be in Christmas for it to work, which makes sense because the second movie totally abandons that. So anyway, I'll stop rambling. This is one of the greatest movies ever by Joe Dante. It's a fucking cartoon come to life. It's so great. Go watch it.
This compelling drama is rich in character and profoundly moving. It is a film
with a message for us all.
Gremlins are back. So get to a theater near you before they do.